Hey guys, I'm Kate, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I'm going to be learning how to structure a series, more specifically my 5-book pirate fantasy series. I'm going to be mapping out the individual books with a focus on the overarching plot for the world, but also for my main character. I gotta get these narratives in order. This was one of my big goals for 2023, so big that I put it in my 2023 goals video. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Past Kate explain why I had stopped working on this series for a couple years and why I think I'm ready to return. Depending on how long y'all have been hanging out on this channel, some of y'all will not know this, but I was writing a pirate fantasy series, 5 books that I had mapped out, but frankly, looking back at it now, I had mapped them out poorly. I really had a lot of difficulties when I went to fast draft some of the later drafts and was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So the fast drafts would go from being like 60,000 words to 40,000 to 20,000, and at the end I was just like, oh, this is not getting me where I need it to get me. And a series as a whole has its own sort of structure to it, just as individual books do, and I just didn't feel very confident in telling that story, but now I do. And let me just say, I am so excited to be back, to be feeling this good about the series again, because I was having a bit of an existential crisis about not feeling confident enough to do the story justice. Now, one of the things I love most about pirates is the shenanigans. It's the stealing, it's the plotting, it's the heists, the ambiguous morals, the gray area with which they tread. So you know that each book, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, has to contain multiple of these. And on top of that, my pirates are after a treasure, because of course they are. They're trying to hunt down and collect all of the Meridian Maps, and that once they have them all will lead to this sort of nirvana. So basically that means that in each of the books, leading up to the penultimate book, like, they have to be finding multiple of these maps so that the last book we can see the nirvana for what it is. Okay, so we're kind of getting a vague structure, the vaguest of structures here. But we're also following our main character, Analisa, as she's basically forced to join this pirate crew. They become her found family. She betrays her crew for her old family. Crew lives are lost. She unwittingly becomes a privateer for her old country. They add members to the now blended crew, and they all come together to find the last piece of the map. And also, there's war amongst the realms, because there has to be war amongst the realms. Analisa may or may not be a wanted woman in several realms, and she may or may not have killed a prince or two that, like, definitely deserved it. So as you can see, a lot going on, a lot that needs to be plotted out. And that's what this video is for. And this one I'm going to be focusing on the overarching structure, but my goal for the rest of the year is to basically fully complete the series of the individual books. But I'm now aided by the fact that, 1, the first book is more or less figured out and has been for a while. It's also going to be acting as the catalyst up until like the break into 2 moment for the overall series. Basically, Analisa becoming part of this pirate crew. We get to see that evolution, and what happens in that first book basically helps to set everything else into motion. And 2, I'm now significantly better at outlining. I at least have a method that works for me. So as mentioned from the beginning of 2023, I feel like my confidence is up a lot. And 3, I have a book to guide me that has a whole section on how to structure a series, even going so far as to basically explain where you need to be for a pentology. So during my writing semester experiment that I've been doing, I have a whole class and a whole bunch of time set aside for how to structure a series that I've been working through, and intuitively I figured out that I needed to really map out the world and all of the realms, and as they're about to go to war before the first book starts, but also where we're at in each book, what attacks have been done, who's allied with who. That all needs to be figured out so that the 5th book, when we have like the huge war, it'll be great. So I needed the world, and I figured out that I needed obviously Analisa's arc as a whole. Thankfully, that's also more or less what this book dictates. So again, it's just sort of intuitive to be like, okay, where's the world at and where's my main character at? Which I have right here. So after brainstorming on my own for my class, quote unquote, this is basically what I ended up with. A whole lot of stuff, but still just kind of that. Not an actual plan other than more concepts and maybe like bullet points of what should happen, but not like not enough to seemingly make an arc. One of the big things I still need to figure out is surrounding Analisa's mom. One of the main points of contention throughout Analisa's life is that her mom ran away and basically abandoned her and her family, but she ran away with pirates. She was a really good friend of the Queen of Monsoria and basically betrayed the entire queendom in her running away. And Analisa exhibits a lot of similar like personality traits as her mom, so she's treated a certain way. And her greatest fear is turning into her mom when she does also, in fact, slowly become this pirate captain herself. So there's a little bit of like foil that I need to play with, where we see that though she does have these traits similar to her mother, she's not her mom, right? But it's where in the story should I be putting that for the best impact? So I have an idea in book 3 that to get one of the maps from her mom, and this would be the first time we'd actually see her fully on page, but that's not enough for the arc, so I think she needs to come up in 3 and 4 and 5, but I don't have it figured out yet. So that's one of the many reasons I think it is time to turn to Save the Cat Writes a Young Adult Novel, the ultimate guide to writing a YA bestseller, which Jessica Brody and 10 Speed Press very kindly sent to me. The reason that I was most excited about this versus just using the old Save the Cat is that this specifically talks about how to structure a series. It also has bits about how to structure a book with multiple different point of view characters. So I would say some pretty important stuff that the first book didn't have. She also answers some other questions that she most commonly gets. So I'm excited to see how this can help me on my own journey. Okay, I think I'm going to hop straight back into going beyond the first book because this is the part I'm most curious about. And then I think I'm gonna work my way through it from the very beginning. All right, I have a little bit left in this chapter, but I've already added a bunch of tabs. Heck yes. To start this chapter, she briefly covers what a static anthology and dynamic series are like, which can also be called sequential and is what the Meridian Maps is in a lot of fantasy series as a whole. And she covers that a dynamic series can and probably should have more than one beat sheet, and that basically you have one beat sheet per book and one beat sheet for the entire series. And you would have more obviously if you have multiple point of view characters. And her suggestion is to start with the foundation beats when you're looking at the overarching beat sheet, which are the catalyst, break into 2, midpoint, all is lost, and break into 3. And for a 5-book series, which is what I have been debating if the Meridian Map should be a tetralogy or a pentalogy, and I think I'm more and more sure that it needs to be a pentalogy as I'd originally imagined. And this is basically what it would break down into looking like. So then it's been a matter of taking the notes that I already had and trying to figure out where those foundation beats are. So I already mentioned that book 1 basically covers the catalyst and into the break into 2 kind of organically. It just sort of makes sense that that would be where the series act 1 ends. And then books 2 and 3 basically cover all of the fun and games, which also feels right for the story. There's going to be lots of ups and downs because we do have like some deaths planned of our poor crew members in that time and some betrayals and all that, but for the most part it's like full-on fun shenanigans of stealing and pillaging. We get into the more fantastical bits as well, different lore that Analisa couldn't have even, dreamed of. She bought into the Meridian Maps, which was like a folk story that her mom told her when she was young, but then she's learning that other folk stories are real too. Book 4 is supposed to cover the series Act 2B, so after the midpoint up to the break into 3, which works out well for my series Act 3, which is basically the ginormous battle and where the maps have led to and all this stuff sort of culminating into 1. What's reflected back to me though, both in my notes and from continuing to think about it as I read Save the Cat, is that book 4 is really where a lot of stuff hinges and where I have the most questions. Okay, so for my how to structure a series class, I've been cheating a little bit because during my reading class I'm also doing Save the Cat Writes a YA novel. What I've come up with so far is I did like the part about picking a universal lesson for your book. It's not too dissimilar from the original Save the Cat, but I'm also thinking of having a different universal lesson for each of the books as Analisa continues her journey to becoming a pirate captain in her own right. So I'm thinking for the first one, acceptance of the situation and survival is kind of like a common theme. Book 2 will be trust. Book 3 is redemption because some shit goes down in book 2. Very excited. Book 4 is gonna be love, and book 5 is responsibility, as basically the culmination of this world war and what Analisa and the pirates' roles are in this. I think that feels right. I think that feels right. I'm gonna try and come up with the full sentence. I start it especially because I really liked it. She basically breaks down for each of them their wants, needs, shard of glass, flaw, and puts it in one sentence. And I think that would be so helpful to do and to have like on every page as I draft the series, is just having like, this is it for this book for Analisa. So just some fun little things I'm going to be adding to my outlining process as I go along. I am excited to reread all the parts about structuring a series after I read through the rest of the book, but I am picking up stuff along the way, so woohoo! Okay, let's get to reading. I had an epiphany. 2 of them. Vin helped. Did you help? What a good girl you are. Yeah. So basically what I've done now is made a really shitty table, and I bolded the 5 main beats. And those are also the only ones that I have filled in. But I did go ahead and shift things around so that the midpoint is actually going to be in book 3, but it's going to be trading a map with her mom. That is like going to be the official midpoint of the story, which I think is going to work so well. I had it in book 3 before, it was just where, but like as the midpoint is perfect for Analisa's like emotional arc. And then the all is lost, what I've actually done is I've decided it's going to be when they leave the captain behind, after they've already pieced the maps together and figured everything out. And have found where their maps led. And so that'll be so close to the end of book 4. All this loss usually takes place about 75% of the way through. And then that way we have the break into 3, which is Analisa and her crew, most of her crew, choosing to help get in the middle of this war and help to save their friends, right? So now I just need to fill in the rest of this, but thinking about it as one overarching story, which I think I can do, and I'm really excited about. I'm fully on board now with the 5 main ones. It has helped a lot, so. Of the books 2 through 5, like this fun and game section is the part that I know best because it's the part that I actually wrote the most of, and I know Analisa's arc is just like the critical points here. So it was actually pretty easy to fill out my wonky little table for books 2 and 3, and I actually think I have some working titles for those, which is really fun. So I still gotta brainstorm 4 and 5, but like I got it. I'm getting it, at least. Now, despite book 4 being the one I had the most questions about, once I had the anchor points for the All Is Lost and the break into 3, it was actually sort of easy to fill in the bad guys close in and the Dark Night of the Soul. What it actually means is they're going to find all of the maps a little bit earlier than I first expected, but it makes so much more sense this way, since they have to then go to where the maps lead and then have these kind of critical moments of the All Is Lost and like leaving part of their people behind, you know? So I'm so excited. And then book 5. Ooh, do you see all that? Do you see it? Do you see it? It's done. Oh my gosh, that is a filled out table, and actually, whoop, book 5 has got a lot. I used the 5-point finale, which I actually saw in beat sheet breakdowns before I'd ever used Save the Cat, and I always found them, it was like the first thing that I found really helpful for beat sheet breakdowns, to see how a finale could be done. Not necessarily so prescriptive, but could be done in a way that like be the most satisfying, since I tend to have the issue of like speeding through and just like going and going and going so fast. Save the Cat, the original, has the 5-point finale talked about in about 5 pages. This one is in 10 pages, and I do think it's more helpful. But I had epiphanies about this 5-point finale, and I don't know if it's because I've been doing all this work over the course of, frankly, like a couple of months now, on and off, but like just kind of living in this world again. Came up with stuff that I hadn't planned, that wasn't in book 5 before and my old plan, because frankly book 5 was the one that I got to the end and got stuck on because I didn't know how to do it. I think I'd written like 20,000 words max for book 4 for the fast draft, and I was staring at book 5 and I was like, I don't even fucking know what to do. But now I do. Now I have like an incredible 5-point finale that includes the same shenanigans along the way that the rest, I'm gonna count it for how many times I've said shenanigans in this video, but like hijinks, you know, that all the other books have, but in a way that like you can feel we're building up to this thing, and I'm so excited. I always knew that Analisa's mom would have to come up again. She's the Hightower surprise in a lot of ways. I always knew I needed one last moment with her at the end of this whole series. And so I'm very excited about that, but I also had something that's even better for the sort of dig deep down moment that happens after the surprise, where they have to sort of vaguely regroup, and I just think it's gonna work so well with seeing how far Analisa has come. And I'm so pumped. And now I've done it. That feels crazy. Now I've done it. There's still a lot of questions I have to answer. One of the big ones is that Analisa's dad needs to die over the course of the series. It's just kind of when he needs to die, and I haven't quite figured that one out. I'm guessing it'll probably be about book 3, maybe book 4. Oh, book 3 could hit really hard with the emotions if we see him die and then later we have the midpoint with them. Anyways, it's stuff like that that I haven't exactly figured out where it needs to go, but it's also not like a hinge point or anything. That'll be individual book beat sheets when I go to do them, that I'll have to input those smaller details, but I did it. I structured the whole series, and it feels so good and it looks so good, and it's nice to have just guideposts along the way when I go back to draft these. I'm so excited. I'm hoping by the end of the year that I will have done all of the beat sheets for all of the books, and then I can start drafting next year for the rest of them. And if I could just fully revise the Meridian Map, the first book, the Meridian Maps, this year, that would also be awesome. I think those are 2 like very doable goals. It's like a continued exhale. It just feels so nice. Yay. I am coming up going to have a little like 24 hours of pirates sort of day where I just like consume all things pirates, which I'm really excited about. So if you want to comment down below your favorite pirate show, pirate book, whatever you think a pirate would drink, whatever, I would love to know. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am so happy to have like part of this huge goal crossed off my list for the year, and to have it feel so good and so solid. I feel like I'm just kind of floating on a cloud. Yay! Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all very soon with a new video. Bye!